Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to yet another tropical forecast here by Adrian with the forecast. This is my third video for today, so a lot of uploads. As you can tell, the Atlantic is still extremely active. We have yet another disturbance now off the coast of Africa with this tropical wave, but that's not what we're going to be talking about in this video. We're going to be focusing mainly on Tropical Depression 8, soon to be Tropical Storm Hanna, and then we also have Gonzalo to possibly become, maybe still hopes for becoming a hurricane. So that's going to be talking about the timing, the cones, all of that as well, how favorable the conditions are, the timing of when we can see a U.S. landfall. That's what we're going to be talking about all in this video, so be sure to check that out. We have actually a lot of new updates actually, so it's not the same exact information as my last video, so huge updates ever since earlier this morning, so be sure to watch the whole video so you have a better idea what's going on here. With soon to have Hanna and also Gonzalo. That's what we're going to be watching out throughout all this video in great detail. Before we get in the video, please hit the subscribe button if you have not already done so. Thank you guys all so much for all the support we've got in the past coming days. I really appreciate it. Also, be sure to hit the like button if you really enjoy the video and hit the post notification icon if you have not already done so you get notified as soon as I post a video. Also, last but not least, check out the Weather Expo Discord server. It had to be 13 and up, but check that out if you are 13 and up. An awesome community there for weather. Without further ado, let's get into this tropical forecast. Here is the National Hurricane Center, the last update here. As you see, the fourth advisory now on Tropical Depression 8 still shows it not being a tropical storm, which in my opinion just makes no sense. And you're gonna see why it doesn't make sense to me. Recon hasn't found anything over 30 knots yet on the recon, so I'm really hoping they do find something that at least is just over 39 miles an hour so we can have a tropical storm. I'm telling you, once you see this on satellite imagery, you're going to say, how isn't this a tropical storm? Compared to Gonzalo, and you're going to be mind-blown and flabbergasted, really. But central pressure dropped 1 millibar, so that is a sign of it actually getting a lot more organized, which is still good at 1,006 millibars, and it's now moving west-northwest at 8 miles an hour, so it has also slowed down, which is a huge sign of this possibly maybe having a better potential for being a stronger storm than expected. And it's now slowed down only 1 mile an hour, but that's still 1 mile an hour more in the ocean than it would be if it was going 9 miles an hour, which doesn't make a difference if you think about it, or if it makes a difference if you think about it, but it's only 1 mile. It's only 1 mile difference, but that could very well, that 1 mile can either extend at 5 miles an hour, if that makes sense. So here's Tropical Storm Gonzalo. If I can actually click it, there we go. Still at 60 miles an hour at 1,000 millibars and moving at 13 miles per hour. So nothing really different here. Center pressure hasn't changed. Winds haven't changed. Still weaker with it, a little drier. I do expect it to be a little stronger in the 11 o'clock update, maybe 60 back to 65, or maybe central pressure might go back to 999 or 998. And this is now moving west at 13 miles an hour. But now that we checked out the National Hurricane Center, let's go and check out all the satellite imagery. So here is satellite imagery on surprisingly still Tropical Depression 8. Tell me, does this really look like a tropical depression? Are you serious, National Hurricane Center? Are you really serious, Recon? Come on. Look at these outer bands. These outer bands are perfectly placed. You can just see the bands on the storm. It looks like a tropical storm. If you told me this was a Category 1, I would believe you. I would believe you told me this was a Category 1. Just look at this rotation, look at the vorticity, look at the convection, look at the size of the storm. Compare that to Gonzalo. Gonzalo took an invest right now because of that, what that dryer did right now. Yes, it's making a recovery, but it still doesn't look like a tropical storm. It does not. It did last night. But look at these bands. That's the big threat, the bands. And they're not even that far off the coast of Texas. Look at that. That's probably what, maybe 200 miles off the coast. Maybe 200, maybe 150. That's definitely not over 200 miles off the coast. So this thing is nearing the Texas coast. So you're probably thinking this thing definitely won't be a hurricane. Yes and no. It has now slowed down. It may be close, but it has slowed down, so it's going to take a lot longer to get there. Also, 30 degrees Celsius the whole way there. No wind shear, basically. There's a lot less wind shear than in Gonzalo. Very moist air. You don't have to worry about dry air getting this. So yes and no. It's a 50-50 50-50 possibility of this becoming a hurricane. It's not even a tropical storm right now. I'm telling you, by the 11 o'clock update, this will be a tropical storm. This is going to be Hanna with the next coming hours. This will be Hanna before midnight. I'm telling you guys that now. I am confident in this, and if it doesn't happen, then I will be shocked. But this is the imagery here for TD8, and then here is now a nice look out here in the next past 48 hours here on this cool thing right here, brightness temp here. And as you see, this thing has definitely, as you see, this is going to tell you knots right here. Look at this thing. This actually did weaken a lot, and now just look at it in the past coming hours. It has definitely strengthened wind-wise. As you see, seeing 30 knots here, that 30 knot mark. And look at that little spark right there, that huge spark of knots. 30 knots there at 35 miles an hour. I bet you very soon we will be seeing something completely different. That's a huge spark, though, in the winds right there. 30 knots, a hugest increase, a little dot right there. Boom. And you're going to see a huge increase as well as we continue to go on overnight hours. Now let's go and check out now at, shockingly, if you look at satellite imagery, Tropical Depression 8. Tropical Storm Gonzalo. Look at that. Look at that. That is a tropical storm. But this is a tropical depression. Compare that. Just look at that very closely. Look at that. Look at that. Like, that is shocking to see that. Like, how that is not a tropical storm yet. How is Tropical Depression 8 not a tropical storm? That's what I don't get, really. It means, obviously, it's not a tropical storm because, yeah, I get they didn't find 39 miles an hour. But I don't understand how they haven't. I don't understand, really. But there you go. This is, shockingly, Tropical Storm Gonzalo right there. 60 miles an hour in this storm, heading towards the Lesser Antilles, the Barbados area, and the Leeward Islands. So that is what we're going to be expecting, ladies and gentlemen, from Tropical Storm Gonzalo right there. In this looking cloud cover, this is a tropical storm, and this very soon, next 72 hours, I believe, heading towards the far southeastern Caribbean, and from there, that's when you could possibly maybe have a hurricane. The probability, let me just tell you, is probably lowering as the hours go on. Now, we're not even expecting a hurricane at all for today like we did earlier this morning, and maybe not even tomorrow. So really, it's getting less likely every single time. I still have hope in this becoming a hurricane. I'm still going to say this will be a hurricane. It's just the timing is continuing to delay. That's the only issue there. But now let's go and check out now all the intensity guidance, the cone, and timing, and all of that. Here is now the cone and timing here for Tropical Depression 8. As you see, very shockingly, or not shockingly, very surprisingly, and also they have extended tropical storm warnings here. As you see here, tropical storm warnings for portions of the central and southern coast here of Texas, including Corpus Christi, Brownsville, as far as just southwest of Houston. Houston is still under a tropical storm watch as of now. And I would not rule out the possibility of tropical storm warnings getting as far as the Mexico border with Texas, as that cone may or may not move a little bit more to the south. As you see, tropical storm is likely here by 1 a.m. tonight. That's when it's expected. I could very well tell you this will be a tropical storm by 10 o'clock, by 10 to 11 o'clock update. This will be Hanna. I'm telling you with confidence that they will at least find 35 knots on recon when it's finished. I really have hope for that. If they don't do it, guys, then that's surprising. If they don't find that would be extremely surprising. Landfall is expected by 1 p.m. Saturday, so it has delayed. It was supposed to make landfall 7 a.m. Saturday compared to the last update, but like I said, it's slowing down, so it's going to make landfall later and later. That's exactly why I still have confidence of this becoming maybe a 50-50 possibility of becoming a hurricane. If not, when I mean hurricane, I mean borderline hurricane, maybe 75 miles an hour, exactly 70 miles an hour. So borderline, just making a hurricane, that's what I mean by a hurricane. I don't mean 90 miles an hour. I mean like just borderline hurricane with a tropical storm, making landfall just to the north, I believe to the north of Corpus Christi, if not just right over Corpus Christi. That's where we're expecting that potential landfall there on early afternoon Saturday, maybe even be later on Saturday if this continues to slow down in pace wise, and then it goes toward it becomes post tropical as it does enter the north central Mexico area. Now let's go check out now as well. Let's not forget about Gonzalo here. Like I said, they have now extended they have now delayed the hurricane probability to 2 a.m. on Saturday. Not today, not tomorrow, but Saturday. The 25th is when we're expecting a hurricane. Right before landfall on the Barbados area. Or just at the Barbados. Tropical storm watches have been issued now for portions of the far southern Lesser Antilles right there. That's exactly where that far southern tip. And this island just to the north of Venezuela. So we almost have tropical storm watches for Venezuela. And this, guess what? Colombia is now in the cone. This system has slowed down significantly. It has to slow down significantly. And look now, look at this track. Going way to the south of Jamaica. But, when you look at spaghetti models, models are starting to show it. A lot more models are showing it now going to the north. What I mean by that is north of Jamaica into Cuba, near Havana. Then they start spilling on the eastern Gulf. Those are the two possibilities. Those are the two outcomes I should be talking about in the next slideshow or the next map. But here, tropical storm until Saturday, basically, as of now. And then it becomes a tropical storm right after making landfall in the Leeward Islands, Lesser Antilles, and Barbados. That's basically what's gonna happen. Really, it's now becoming less of a threat, really, strength wise, because we were thinking maybe Category 2, maybe if this was continuing the strengthening trend, which is not, then Category 3. But really, that's maybe not even a possibility at this point. Category 3. Tropical Depression 8 now model tracks. Here are the model tracks, the latest model tracks. As you see, landfall within the next 48 hours. 48 hours. This thing has 48 hours to strengthen. Or 48 hours to strengthen to at least 70 miles an hour, really. I believe National Hurricane Center has updated to 60 miles an hour. I think it was 50 earlier today. But look, one model shows it going to Louisiana. One model shows it going, I believe, not directly over Houston, but just south of the Houston area. But this is basically the cone, really. This is the cone for this storm right here. Don't expect it to hit Houston. Don't expect it to go over Louisiana. Expect it to go just to the south of Corpus Christi. Just right over Corpus Christi or just to the south, basically. I'm not expert of where exactly Corpus Christi is. I just know it's just in the vicinity right here. It's right in the vicinity right here. But expect this to make landfall by Saturday. So same with Gonzalo. So it seems like Gonzalo and soon-to-be Hanna are making landfall on some type of land in the same day, on Saturday. So now that we checked that out, now let's go and check out now another cone or another tracks here now for Tropical Storm Gonzalo. And here is the latest tracks. As you see, we have multiple models tracking this, and now, like I said, there's two outcomes. There's two outcomes in this. First outcome is they do what the National Hurricane Center is doing. They show it going way south of Jamaica, either making landfall or Cancun. But in general, what I mean by outcome, I just mean it's going to go to the Western Caribbean and then spill out and then hit Texas or that Mexico area. That's one outcome. That general outcome is that it goes right here. This is my one outcome. It goes right here. This is my outcome. It goes generally right here. That's number one. That's one outcome. The second outcome is that it goes more to the north. Like I'm saying, maybe this could happen. It goes hits either Haiti or north of Jamaica, Cuba, then Eastern Gulf. These are the only two outcomes, really. You can't. If you're gonna count every other model, you're gonna have 20 outcomes, and you don't want to have that. So these are the two outcomes, really. This is basically the two outcomes. I really think that this storm might be shocking turn to the north, and it goes like this. Honestly, I'm not gonna rule out this. This is not impossible. This actually may or may not happen. I do think that one of these will happen. I'm not gonna tell you which one I think will happen more, because I don't want to say something that doesn't happen. I'm just going to tell you these are the two things that could happen. I don't want to go, not over Florida. It goes right here, and then it goes here. Those are the only two things. It either goes north of Jamaica or it goes south of Jamaica. That's kind of the difference. If it goes north of Jamaica, Eastern Gulf. If it goes south of Jamaica or over Jamaica, Western Gulf. That's basically how you're going to say it. Another little model track here. Let's go and extend this a little bit right here. You can see closer to the models here. You can see a lot of them are now shifting a lot more north of Jamaica, which you know that means Cuba, then Eastern Gulf. So maybe another U.S. landfall. Because if it does go south of Jamaica and it actually hits Cancun, instead of missing Cancun and going to Texas, it may hit Cancun and go in the Bay of Campeche and then makes landfall again in Mexico and then it dies out. That could be the reality if it does go to Cancun. It may or may not go to Texas if it does go in the Western Gulf. So like I said, there's more than two outcomes, but those are the general two outcomes of the direction-wise. So they see they're kind of splitting off right before Jamaica. This is kind of the split off time. It's kind of like a railroad track where like they switch gears. That one goes there, and that one goes there. It's kind of hard at this point. It's kind of frustrating. So many models are disagreeing, really. See, this one's even showing going straight up to Dominican Republic. I don't think that's going to happen. If it does go to the north, I think it would be like more of like this. That's what I'm thinking if it takes that turn. Or it goes straight like that. Like I said, more models are starting to show taking that northerly turn, which is why I'm saying that is not that we cannot rule out the possibility of maybe in a panhandle landfall for Pensacola. Who knows? Like I said, there's so many possibilities. Here's the intended guidance now for Tropical Depression 8. As you see, it is going to be a tropical storm within less than the next 6 hours. So, and also, not only that, models are slowly showing it getting stronger. At its peak, slowly but surely, we are getting to that mark of maybe 50 knots, which is 60 miles an hour. I always think it can get higher than that. I think really its peak will be right here. I think its peak will be borderline hurricane right there. That's my peak there. That's 8L. Now with Tropical Storm Gonzalo, as you see here it is. Some models are now showing just saying as tropical storm, which will be absolutely disappointing. So many more models are showing now staying as a tropical storm. And look at this now. Look at this. Now there is maybe 40% of the models. No, less than that. 30% of the models should be getting now a hurricane, which is absolutely now it's just depressing now. This is like another Christina. This is a bust. As of now, well, I can't say the bust until it actually happens. But look, less than 40% of the models should have a hurricane. Not only that, they show it as a weak or a moderate category 1. Really, that's just the hard truth. But look how many models are showing as a tropical storm. That's way more than 60, I believe. That's way more than 60. So in reality, there's a bigger probability that it stays as a tropical storm than a hurricane, which is absolutely it's annoying because we are still waiting for that first hurricane. This was gonna be the chance. If this isn't happening, we have to rely on Tropical Depression 8. No, I don't want a hurricane. No, I don't want a hurricane. But it's about time we have one. Really, if you compare how many named storms we have, it's not that I want one. It's just it's got to happen at some point. But we've had so many possibilities where we would have one, like Christina. Now this, it's just crazy here. So now let's go check everything else. So here's nav vorticity. As you see here, we have obviously Gonzalo right there, and then we got that tropical depression, which we all think is a tropical storm at this point. Tropical Storm 8. You can just call it Tropical Storm 8 at this point. But no, Tropical Depression 8 right here. That strong and big low pressures and right there at 1,006 millibar strength. And look at the vorticity signature. It's actually quite a strong vorticity signature. It actually has somewhat a better vorticity signature than Gonzalo itself. You know, that's how that. And look at the size of the storm compared to Gonzalo. Look at Gonzalo, little teeny little tiny little vorticity signature. And then look at big boy Tropical Depression 8. Look at that. Compare the size of that. This Tropical Depression is probably 2 times as big as Gonzalo, and that's being generous. Maybe 3 times as big. And look at that vorticity signature. Absolutely, it's a mental for a tropical depression. It's a mental vorticity signature for a depression. Like I said, It's huge. It's a huge change to what we usually see. Just look at that. Look at that storm. So much vorticity. The rotation's mental. The convection's mental. The bands are just so well defined. That's really how it is. Now let's go and check out now actually the vorticity, the future vorticity here as well. So let me just do this really quickly so you guys don't see a huge screen. All right, there we go. So vorticity signature, here we have Gonzalo right there. Nice vorticity signature at that point. And then here we have a smaller vorticity signature at that point for Tropical Depression 8. Look at that, how it strengthens there. Well-defined low pressure. Boom. Right. It's actually, look at the GFS, showing it almost making landfall on the Mexico border. So slowly the models are winding it, going more to the south. That may or may not make it a sooner landfall. It just depends, really. But look at this storm. There it is. We got Gonzalo straight up into the Leeward Islands, I believe that's how you say it. And then it goes straight up to Dominican Republic, Bahamas. And then it shows it actually going up into the Bahamas. Look at that. That's a huge change following this. Hits Haiti, I believe, Dominican Republic. Hits Bahamas. Look at that. Look where it is. It's right here. It's right here. Like, I don't know if I'm following it right, but it's going up the Bahamas, which actually makes no sense. I'm following it right, I think. There it is. Next 84 hours, July 27th. It goes up Haiti, right? It goes right here. There's nothing, nowhere else where I see it. It goes right here. Right there. Strong signature over Bahamas. And then it, like, goes, like, to an Arthur-like turn. Like, that's shocking how models just can't get this at all, really. They're struggling to even track this. It's kind of disappointing at this point. All right, wind shear. It is now, as you can tell, look at this. Very favorable conditions on the nice light green. It's exactly what you want for development. There's a very favorable conditions there. Look what we got. This Tropical Depression 8 under less than 5 knots of shear. Absolutely beautiful for a forecaster, yet it's a tropical depression. Which makes no sense, right? It makes no sense. If we were thinking about this ahead of time in April, storm in Gulf of Mexico, 30 degrees Celsius, 5 knots, big moisture, we would have thought major hurricane, right? We all would have thought a hurricane. Yet we're here in July, and it's just a depression. It's just a depression. You know, it's like, you know, it's like opposite day at this point. It's like opposite day. And then here we have Gonzalo here around 10 to 15 knots, still favorable here. And then that's that. And then the last thing I'll be looking at is now the precipitation rate here on the GFS model right there. Alright, so now we're going to be looking at really detailed the precipitation here. This is on Tropical Depression 8. Is the next 21 hours. This thing will be at 998 millibars based on the HWRF model. It is showing it as being a hurricane. So like I'm saying, there's a higher probability for this becoming a hurricane. Models, unlike GFS and CFC, are showing it, but GFS, it's just been awful lately. It's been absolutely awful. It's been terrible. It's showing Gonzalo still hitting Central America at this point, and honestly, I am surprised it's still doing. Oops, I don't want to do that. Like the GF, it's so bad. Like I can't even describe how bad the GFS has been lately. So we gotta look now at some lower, not as well known models. HWR or HWRF now. Next 33 hours here, this is actually on the 25th, right before landfall, 982 millibars, 975 millibars, making landfall right over Corpus Christi. And look at this, extremely heavy rain. It's outer bands as far as Houston, we'll be seeing it. Not as bad rain for Houston, but areas like Austin, you guys can get rain, Corpus Christi, Brownsville, all those areas, even El Paso, you guys can see some extremely heavy rain. That's HWRF. Let's go and check the winds for this as well. The 10-meter winds here, which means 10 meters off the surface, so that's accurate. Let's go see. This is going to be bringing up to 69 knots on 10 meters. 78 knots before landfall on 10-meter winds. That is around 88 miles an hour, which is well over the borderline for a hurricane for a Cat 1. Look at that, absolutely mental there. Last thing we'll be looking at here is now another model quickly here, the HMON or HMON or HMON, whatever, how you pronounce it really. Winds for this as well as we get the next 24 hours, showing 50 knots. Then slowly but surely going to get up to 61 knots next 42 hours. then 61 knots. So that's around 71 miles an hour. So this is still showing it maybe being a very strong tropical storm, but it's still, the chances are increasing. Alright guys, that will wrap up the very long video. Hope you guys did enjoy this. A lot more detailed than the last video this morning. So be sure to subscribe if you're new. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and bye guys.